Hey everybody, welcome to Ask the Amigos. This is
Yeah.
the show where we answer our Discord community's burning questions. We start with Hop. Hop asks, do you play the games you review at 50 or 60 hertz? Do you have a 50 hertz display for playing the European releases at correct speed without jittery scrolling?
Both would be the answer, and also both. I could play them both. So generally, I will default like because most of the time, this is the beauty of the Mister. You can pick what you want, and you can tell. I can definitely tell a difference. And I like to play stuff at the NTSC rate, but I almost always play at the PAL rate because that's what most of the things we play are PAL. And I've got multiple outputs here that will allow me to do that, no problem. But it does irritate me sometimes, and so sometimes I'll switch over to NTSC because some of these games, and just for example, I'll take like Golden Axe. Like I don't like playing it, 7% slower or whatever. I want to play at the speed I grew up playing it, and so I will. But yeah, it depends on the game. A lot of times it really doesn't matter. Sometimes it does. What do you think, Bode?
Well, my favorite game, The Addams Family, plays completely different at 60 hertz. It runs a lot faster. I just got done doing a world record run on the NTSC version, and it's a
You're
different
the man.
game. As we all know, the Amiga in America was a complete non-factor with next to no releases, and so everything that we play is 50 hertz through the Mister. Now,
Hmm.
if I had to, uh, I have you and I both have a regional Amiga monitors that will run at 50. RGB doesn't care. RGB just displays.
Yeah.
And so I can load up games in PAL mode on through the A1000 with the Rejuvenator board. But most of the time, the Mister makes things easy. You know exactly what you're getting. If you need to switch it up, you can. So that's the way I do it.
It is funny because we I remember back in the day, we're brand new, wet behind the ears. We don't know what's going on. No one knew. And so, like when I was a kid, I mean, well, not a kid, when I was a young adult, and I had the Amiga, stuff would just go off the screen. Like the bottom half would be cut off. I'd be like, "What the hell's going on?" I didn't have any idea. Some stuff would run so fast. I'd be like, "How can anyone play this?" Eventually, you learn, and we
Yeah,
learned.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine being an Amiga fan, one of the few, the proud back in the day in America, being like, "Why do all my games suck and all the screen is cut off?" It's
I
like, why are they
learned.
why are they running weird?
The great thing about if you go back and watch the earliest shows on this channel, right? It is funny. If you go back and listen watch them, we are the great American dummies that come up slowly, but we slowly learn. You can learn with us. This is the perfect channel to watch if you're an Amiga neophyte. Just watch our various screw ups, our various, botches over the years, and eventually you'll catch up just like we did.
Next question comes from David Hearn Ryder. He's got three big questions because
He's a
that's what we
writer.
limit our Patreon community to. Three big questions a month. He says, "Do you think Big John Studd would have made a fantastic Doctor Who in the 80s?"
No, I think that's a horrible idea because you want Doctor Who to be
What do
sort
you
of
have
like
against
not that
Studd?
tough. Well, listen, if he was here now, I would say yes, he'd be great because he was Big John Studd, big huge guy. And one thing about Studd, I know it's a wrestling question by the way, because Big John Studd, if you're not a wrestling fan, he can be anybody, and his name's John Studd, but he was a wrestler. And the funny thing is, he was about 6'10", 6'11", and he was smaller than Andre.
He always had a big board and he'd go,
No, that's
"Ho!"
Hacksaw Duggan. Didn't have a board. You don't need a board when you're 6'11".
Mm.
But of course, he was always Andre's understudy, and Andre didn't like Stud because Stud would come over the top rope like Andre does. And Andre thought that was his gimmick. So in
Yeah.
real life, Andre hated John Studd and used to torture him in the ring,
Mm.
violently beat him.
So there were some Studd versus Andre matches.
Tons of them. But often, Stud would get mauled by Andre, who was a big, huge 7'4" monster. But anyway, getting back to the question, Doctor Who's aren't supposed to be big. Newsflash: Doctor Who's are supposed to be like normal sized or smaller geeks. They're not supposed to be like studs. They're not supposed to be out there kicking butt. That's wrong. I don't know who got this idea. Doctor Who the fencer, Doctor Who the guy with a gun. Doctor Who doesn't do any of that stuff. He's supposed to be just. This is where the series went wrong. So
How
no,
about
that's a
Doctor
bad
Who
choice.
likes to get it on all the time?
That's also no. What? He's an alien. What are we doing? No, wrong.
I think
Go
Super
ahead.
Tech Boy has got the right answer here. Ric Flair is Doctor Woo.
I had that shirt. Remember
No.
the Doctor Wu shirt? Very good.
Oh, I'm sure Tech Boy was not the first to think of that.
Also,
Favorite
he spelled Rick
character from
wrong.
favorite character from any fighting game, Aaron?
Oh, jeez, Jesus! From any fighting game, do you want to go ahead and go first? While I think about it, because I know you don't know.
You
that
know,
many,
well,
probably.
I haven't played fighting games seriously since I was in high school.
Yeah.
And when you're in high school, you just want to see sexy girls all the time. So I always played as Chun-Li in Street Fighter. I always played as Orchid in
Me too.
Killer Instinct.
That's who I played.
So, because I mean, you're always trying to get a little flash of the buttocks, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm a
Is
freaking
that why
man."
you played it that way?
Know? So that's why every boy plays it that way.
There was a character. God, I can't remember his name. Someone will say it, but he was sort of like a really crappy Ryu. He like his fireball would come out about an inch. He was like, "Hey." He was real effeminate. He was like he wore a pink gi. Normal me, I could just give you his name immediately. But
Are you talking about
right
Dan from the Street Fighter series?
That's it, Dan. I always thought to myself, look at this guy. They put him in here to be a big geek. His super move was geeky. His regular moves were geeky. But there's something to me when they put a guy in there that just sucks. He's a dork. I always had an affinity to Dan, so I'm gonna pick Dan.
I will give honorable mention to Ninja from Body Blows.
How about Monk, the Monk guy?
No, because the Monk, when he wins, doesn't go, Monk!
That's true. Ninja did shoot. Body Blows. That's quite a game. That particular one. They had some. Also, I like the Wall Street guy. Another guy. I could see that guy being very. I mean, if you're a big time broker, why are you fighting in the streets? I don't know, man.
David Hearn's final question is best bakery in Hurricane.
Well, there's only two that I know of. Right beside, I will say this: across from the park, there's a bakery beside the liquor store. That's how I know about it. You've been there. They make pepperoni rolls that are off the charts. Now, here's the caveat: they cost a ton. Like one pepperoni roll is probably like a couple bucks, but they're big. They're the big boys. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like the size of a baby's head. They make some great grub there. Now, there's another bakery that's right beside the bouncy house joint. That's also beside the park. I don't know if you've been there.
Yeah, all of these bakeries are within spitting distance of the Hurricane City Park.
Are there more bakeries I don't know about? Or are those the only two?
There was another one that was by the Boat Fest location, but I don't know if they're still open or not.
Do you have a favorite amongst these bakeries? I will say the pastries I had from the other bakery were good, but those pepperoni rolls, they sort of win it.
I am a big fan of the Spring Hill Bakery in South Charleston.
I didn't know we could count that one. That's the clear winner.
Well, I'm just saying that I've never the place that was nearby the Boat Fest location, they're closed now. But and I haven't been to the new place by the liquor store, though I have heard good things. But there's nothing like a Spring Hill hot dog.
I knew you were gonna say because tell them what the hot dogs have in them. They don't have hot dogs in them at all.
No, it's just Boston cream all day long.
Yeah. I like their various eclairs and delights.
Everything that they make is great.
Yeah, they've been around forever. But I will say my favorite bakery all time is gone. But it was the Mr. Donut location in Charleston that made the fudgies. Because not only did it have fudgies, but they had these lady fingers, and you can't get them like they made them. They were so good.
You've never had another fudgy either, right?
No. I'm telling you, but I sincerely say this, I weep for you. Because you've never experienced these brilliant things that I got to experience. I'm sorry.
Where was the location of this place?
Do you know where the Big Boy Monument is in Charleston? You know where they've got the Big Boy, like the Shoney's Big Boy Monument?
No.
It's right off the boulevard. Do you know where the
bowling
bowling
I know where
alley
the Shoney's is. It's by the Shoney's then, right?
No, it's not by there, actually.
Oh, okay.
There was a Shoney's near. You know where the old Kmart was? Like
across
Charleston?
the Patrick Street Bridge?
Yeah. If you went to the right instead of the left, that's where the Mr. Donut was.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron. I forgot that I needed to pee. So
I'll
I
pause
gotta,
the show.
I
Here
gotta
we
go
go,
do that.
everybody. Oh,
All right, Aaron. Next up, we have 2 questions from the one, the only Ravi Abbott. First
oh,
question
I know
is, do
him.
you like Red Dwarf?
I'll admit, I have never watched a single episode of Red Dwarf. Now, people know that I am a big fan of British TV.
Yeah.
But, and I know of Red Dwarf. I've heard about it for years. It's a comedic space show.
Yes.
I'm not into that much. It doesn't
Mhm.
that doesn't appeal to me that much. I like a straight space show or just fun. Like I don't know, but I really do need to give it a whirl. I will say it's on my radar, but I've never watched a single episode.
I have seen the pilot episode, and I don't know that I made it all the way through. It,
Ooh,
it was it was it, it just wasn't. I don't know. And I won't say that I'll never give it another chance because I know it's beloved.
yeah,
But I don't know. I am a fan of the British humor though, so we'll
yeah.
see.
I will say
Uh,
one of the guys from that show hosted like the Robot Wars show,
he
so I
was
do know
also
him.
another one of the guys from that show was the voice of Simon in Simon the Sorcerer. So there's your Amiga
Look at
connection.
you, Boat. My God, look how far you've come, my friend.
Next question: were you ever goth? Were you a goth growing up?
You imagine that with mascara and stuff? No, no. What's
Were
the
that
opposite
was
of
that even
goth?
a thing yet when you were in school?
No. And when
Yeah.
I graduated, there were no goths in school. There were no people wearing eye makeup or mascara like that. There were no. I mean, I had some friends that dressed in black and like spiked their hair up and stuff, but like the full goth thing was after. I think I don't remember anyone be. Well, I don't know. People younger than me were, I guess, by today's standards, you would consider them goth. At the time, I just thought they were like good. I don't know. I take that back because Rich and a couple other people, yeah, sorta, sorta.
All your friends were goths, weren't they?
Well, I mean, was I ever goth? God, no. I couldn't do it, even if I wanted to. I'm just not the kind of personality. I'm the exact opposite of a goth person, and Bo will tell you it's true.
You're
What about
right. Yeah.
you?
Yeah. I wanted to be so many different types of people. I
Yeah.
wanted to be like a grunge rock person. I went through a phase where I wanted to have like long hair and look like
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
I went through a wanting to look like a goth person phase. I got real into The Cure. And the problem is I just didn't have the sort of will or drive to carry anything out because it seemed like a lot of work. There's a lot of prep that goes into being a goth. You gotta,
Yeah.
dye your hair black and load up on the makeup.
Yeah.
Do I want to look like Robert Smith that bad? Probably not.
I'd gain some
Well,
weight if I were
yeah,
you.
yeah. And so, it's in my mind being goth seemed cool, but it was not something that I ever really was able to carry off.
This I want to dig in this a little bit, bud, if you'll indulge me here,
Sure,
because this is
man.
an interesting question. Because like now that I think about it, I guess some of my friends, golf wasn't a term, but you were mentioning the Cure, and my friends were all like punks. We called them punks. That was punks. It wasn't goth at the time, but they wore black. And my buddy he spiked his hair like Robert Smith, and he with eggs and toothpaste in his hair. They would stick straight up, and a good friend of mine, I knew chicks that were all into black, and my buddy Rich was into that stuff. Could the mindset? Like I like The Cure, for example, but it says I don't want to be Robert Smith. I
Yeah.
like some of this stuff. I like Depeche Mode and some of this. Could you? How do you see yourself, or how did you see yourself as a high schooler? Like, where was your mind at? Like, did you lean a certain way, a certain direction in terms of
Well,
a social group?
I was in the band, so it's just I was all the band kids were my kids, and you
Well,
know
there
how
you
band
go.
people are freaks. They were all freaks, and so
Band
it was just
gets a little blue, and no one even knows what happened. Just like band can get a little funky. You would think that the band kids are just a bunch of nerds, and they were, but they were also there was some stuff going down
oh
in the
yeah,
nerd zone.
there's a lot of stuff going down.
Yeah,
But the problem is that when you adopt a certain lifestyle, you've really got to commit to it, or you face tremendous amount of ridicule. Like for
yeah,
example, if I go goth and I show up with dyed black hair, mascara, whatever wallet chain, etc.
Is
And then
that
after
part
a
of it?
week, oh
Wallet
yeah,
chain?
the
I
the
thought
wallet
truckers had
chains
that.
the wallet chain's half of it, man. And then the week after that, you decide, hey, this isn't working out for me. Then
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be looked upon well by your peers.
It's a big matzo ball hanging out there. Weren't you a
Yeah,
goth last week with mascara? It's like, nah, it never happened. But I
yeah.
got the chain. I never heard about the chain with the wallet.
You
You're
know, did
right.
you ever have a bike wallet chain, like a bike chain wallet
God,
chain?
no. Do you want to carry that thing around? Do I want crap attached to my pants? What happens if you get that thing caught in something? But
That's what I always thought too. Because
the
like I
thing
get,
is, go ahead.
no, I mean, I feel like parts of my body and parts of my clothing get caught on things all the time. I don't need one more thing getting caught on stuff.
That could kill you because it could get caught in like a passing car.
Yeah,
But
a combine.
I used to watch my goth friends do their thing. I didn't know they were goth. Like I said, we called it punk, but it was like goth.
Hmm.
But I'd see him like I would see the prep work involved.
Right,
Step one,
right.
dress like riffraff from Rocky
Mhm.
Horror. Step two, like all this crud in your hair. Like I've mentioned before, I could take my buddy's hair and go chink and just break chunks of it off because it was like toothpaste and egg whites or whatever stuck in it. It was horrible. It smelled weird. Step three, don't bathe was also part
Mhm.
of it.
Yeah.
Step four, get drunk. Take acid, whatever. And it seems so exhausting because I'm the kind of guy, and still am to a certain degree. I get up out of bed, I put on a pair of pants, jeans, I put on a t-shirt, and I'm off. That's the prep. I'm gone. Can you imagine getting up? It's like, okay, time to apply the face whitening, time to apply the eye make. Can you imagine putting on eye makeup in the morning? Hell no, I'm not gonna do that. I don't have time for that crap.
I
Also,
mean, yeah.
it gets too much
Right.
for me.
Right. That was really probably most of the poor decisions that I managed to shake off were just because they would cause me too much effort in the morning to do.
I mean, we both hate shaving our heads, and
Yeah.
that's the bare minimum. It's the
Right.
bare minimum. I went in before the show. I went in and shaved the front of my head. I'm like, good enough. So the back of it, God knows what's going on back there. That's it.
Who
That's all
knows?
you see.
Who cares? It's not on
It doesn't
camera. It's like the
matter.
dark side of the moon.
No one cares what I look like.
Ricky DeRocher asks, what if British Jones is the real person and Boat is the puppet? Well, I can tell you right now, I don't do a very good British accent. So if British Jones is the puppet, then he's doing the heck of an American accent.
We were just talking off camera that if British Jones is going to do anything at Boat Fest, the Boat said he was. So I'm very excited about seeing what British Jones is up to.
A lot of
I
people
love
haven't
British
seen
Jones.
British Jones at his natural element before.
What, laying face down in a box? What is this natural element, Boat? Please
Well, you'll
enlighten
find
us.
out at Boat Fest.
Oh my God! Well, I can't wait. But I think Boat and British Jones are more like Jekyll and Hyde. That's the way I look at them. But who is Hyde? Who knows? I don't even know.
Yes.
Maybe we'll find out.
Bajako asks, you are the ruler of the world now.
Well, yeah.
What one rule are you mandating to make it a better place?
Better get after that one, Boat. I got to think about that for a minute.
All right, this just popped in my head.
All right, get into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because one of the things they drill into you when you're a Boy Scout and you go camping,
Yeah.
you go camping is leave it better than you found it.
Yeah.
Leave the campsite better than you found it. When you go
Yeah.
hiking, take only photos, leave only footprints. So I'm just throwing this out there. What if everybody left the situation, whatever situation they were in, better than when they found it? Would the world be a better place?
I like that. Let me ask you before I get into my my quote here or whatever. How often does your Boy Scout training play into your everyday life?
More often than you might think. For example, last night I was at the All County Band concert.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was at All County Band rehearsal, more specifically, right?
Yeah.
And we had a conductor. She's great. She's a lovely, lovely lady, but she likes to talk. And she just story after story after story.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I'm miserable, think about how the kids are. But then I thought back to my Boy Scout years and how it was when you flip the canoe on your first day of the 5-day canoe trip and all your gear is wet all week. And I thought back to you just got to learn to embrace the suck. And that's what I tell my kids all the time. I'm like, listen, band is making a grown person out of you because you learn how to embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Lots of kids that aren't in band, they don't know what that's like. They don't know what it's like to be uncomfortable because they just get out of it. But
Yeah.
when you're in band, you embrace the suck constantly.
You know, God bless you, Bode, because I know you're studying to be a monk. This should be in the Bible, that line, because that is exactly, that's being an adult. That's being a well-adjusted adult, learning to embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Because that's life. That's your adult life. You've just got to embrace some of the suck. Because if you don't come to grips with the suck, your life's going to be rough. You know, and you
Maybe
got
that's the rule we should mandate to make the world a better place.
That's
Embrace
better
the
than the
suck.
other one. Yeah, I like that. I mean, yeah, I don't have much to add because that trumps anything I had. But one of the rules I'll try to live by, and here's how I developed this rule, Bode. Step one: be at the lowest echelon of society. Okay, be way down there. That's where I was at, and I had a rough time. It was tough. It's tough down there. You know what I mean? You're struggling. And people are rough on you. And the thing, I don't know where this was first quoted, but should also be in the Bible, is like, learn to walk in another man's shoes. Like, before you give him the business, before you drop the hammer, think about what this sucker is dealing with. You know, and it works in every situation. You know, that's one of the things I try to live by. It's like to try to understand and sympathize or empathize with someone else and see things how they are. Even if you don't agree with what they're saying, it will at least give you some clarity into why they're acting or saying what they're doing, and it lets you react in a more kind way. So that's my thing.
That's fantastic, man. I love
Well,
it.
I mean, it's not learn to live with the suck. It's not that good.
Is to Scooby asks, how many instruments can you play? What are they?
Well, I'll go first. This is quick. None. There was a time where I could play two, maybe three: trumpet, baritone, and piano to a certain degree. But I don't think I could probably do any of those things now.
It's a difficult question for me because when I think about playing an instrument, it's like, to what extent? I mean, you can hold up a horn and you can honk out stuff.
Yeah, that's
I
my
mean,
trumpeting.
and so, but it's like, how many instruments? If somebody asked me, like another musician, how many instruments can I play? I would say one, because I look at it as like, how many instruments do people call me up and pay me money to play at a gig?
Trombone.
And that's trombone. Now
Well, you can play more.
I can play almost every wind instrument because it's my job. I have to teach kids how to play every wind instrument. But like, my flute skills are not going to get me any bucks anytime soon.
But that's not but you're underselling your abilities here. You can play any woodwind instrument. I mean,
Any
bassoon,
wind instrument, any
clarinet. I mean, I know people that played those. They're not easy to play, and there's a far leap between clarinet, flute, and trombone. And I mean, so you should give yourself more credit. The fact that you can play all these instruments, plus you can play guitar and bass. Do you play piano as well?
I play a little bit of everything. I play a little bit of everything. And so now, I will tell you the instruments that it's easier to answer the instruments that I can't play, that I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Okay. And you just mentioned one of them, the double reed instruments, oboe, bassoon.
Yeah.
I'd never, because I don't have those in the band.
Yeah.
And I only took 9 weeks of those when I was in college, and I've forgotten everything. So I'm no good at those.
Have you ever seen any of those used in a marching band?
Not for
oboe,
yes.
Really?
Bassoon is
in a high school one?
Yeah. Like in Ohio, they use oboes all the time. But bassoon is a hard one to march because you have to have a strap. And the problem is if you fall, you literally get the bocal through the back of your neck, out the back of your head, you die.
Does that happen?
Yes. And so a lot of schools stopped marching bassoons because kids would die. They'd fall in the field. The bocal goes right through the back of your throat, out the back of your head.
I'm going to Google that. That's I can't believe it. That's stunning to me. Good Lord. So it's a killing instrument.
It is. So they don't really march bassoon too much. Like, bassoon is a rare instrument to march. And then violin, all of the string, like orchestral string instruments.
That was my next question. Yeah.
I would have to study up. Like, I'm certified to teach strings.
Oh, Really?
but I would really have to study up because it's been 20 years since I took those classes in college. When I first got the job at Winfield Middle, I didn't know any clarinet fingerings. I had some general idea, but I had to have a fingering chart by my desk every day to help the
Yeah.
kids. But now I can get around. It's just like anything in life, though. Like you do something. I've been at Winfield Middle for 12 years. You get better at something when you do it for that long.
It's
So
not like that. You're teacher of the year for a reason because you're the king dong of instruments. Not everyone can do what you do. So yeah, Bo can play everything. There you go. Answer
Scuba,
that question.
Scuba also asks, what's the weirdest piece of retro gaming merch or hardware you own?
Hmm. The weirdest, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what it might
Okay, I've
be.
got one while you think.
All right.
When I lived in Korea, I either asked for or stole, I can't remember honestly, a foam standee advertising the Katamari Damacy game for PSP that had it was like a little mini diorama that had a space for a Katamari ball, but the ball was missing. I'm sure that I didn't steal it. I'm sure I asked the person for it and he gave it to me. That is probably the weirdest thing that I own. Everything else is pretty normal.
I'd say,
You got the
yeah.
2XL. That's pretty weird.
Well, that's not retro. I mean, I guess, it's funny. I guess technically that is gaming.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think it's that weird. We do have the, when we had that crazy gun toting deal we had. I did get a 5.25-inch Amiga drive.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty weird because
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to use that? Answer nobody. But I got one. I'm sure I can think of something better, but right off the top of my head, that's the one thing that comes to mind. Someone mentioned this in the chat, so I'll just display it here because I'm so proud of it. This is a weird thing to own. It's the box copy of Top Freaking Banana. This right here, when I go down, boat, put this in the coffin, brother. That's
Okay,
your
man.
job. I want to be married with KT. I want to be married with her. But that's a pretty weird thing to own. I got that out of Ohio, by the way. So there you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
Local. Big seller.
And Scoob's last question is, imagine a buddy cop movie starring 2 retro gaming characters.
Okay.
Who's in it and what's the plot?
So it's the caveman and the geek with the girlfriend, Japanese stunned girlfriend. Those are the 2 guys. What game was that?
Jim Power?
Jim Power. That's it. It's a caveman and Jim Power. And the girlfriend is around. Maybe she's a dispatcher or something. I would love to see that. Because if you ponder that for a minute, you're dealing with a caveman. And he's a cop. Caveman cop. That's a game right there. Get on it,
Caveman
Happy.
Cop sounds pretty good.
Yeah. What do you got?
I got nothing. I was going to make some joke about Jim Power's girlfriend, but it's gone.
What about,
I can't use it anymore.
I'm going to give you one. You ready?
Yeah.
So, okay. Remember that horrible game that we played? I've got the box here somewhere. But it was sort of like a chick version of Tarzan. It was for the Amiga.
Oh, Yolanda
and KT. They're sort of like remember Cagney and Lacey? This is the show. You got Yolanda and KT is always tripping acid all the time. That's the show. That's yours. You can have that one.
Okay, I'll take it, man. Ricky DeRocher asks, have you seen Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny?
Hell
How would
no.
you rate it and compare it to the other indie films? So you haven't seen it, but you already hate it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that because I saw enough of it to know that I don't want to see it.
It's got CGI regrown Harrison Ford young version.
I heard that's the best part, to be honest with you. Here's the thing, Bode. Okay, get ready. There are certain things that you grow up with and you hold sacred. They were a fun, joyous part of your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
The Star Wars trilogy, right, is one of those things. A beautiful thing, and the Indiana Jones movies were also that. I saw Indiana Jones in the theater with my mom and dad, and it was glorious. They didn't like it that much, but for me, young A, I was like, oh my God, what the giant boulder? All these traps. It was like a kid's dream movie.
Yeah.
And then I watched Temple of Doom, and I watched the third. I'm like, man, this is a great way to go out. What a great movie. And then I went and saw that Crystal Skull film. Okay, I saw it in the theater with Chad, Matt.
Mhm.
It was the most god-awful, hideous thing I'd ever seen. It crapped all over the other movies. It ruined what I loved about Indiana Jones. And I went and saw the new Star Wars, same thing. And so when they ruin things that you grew up loving, they're actually crapping on your memories. They ruined part of my childhood by making it suck. And I have no desire to see them make it further suck by seeing the new Indiana Jones. So I will never watch it, and I don't endorse it. What about you? Did you see it?
No, no. I to be honest with you, I thought Dial of Destiny was the new video game that just
Did you
came
see
out.
any Indiana Jones film?
I've seen the Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Yeah.
and I've seen the Temple of Doom, and I've seen the Last Crusade. Are there more?
There, unfortunately, there's Crystal Skull and that Dial of Destiny. Now you saw the good ones. Now, how did I don't I know you're younger, obviously, but what did you think of those films? Did you enjoy them?
I
Did they,
thought
were
I
they,
loved Raiders of the Lost Ark.
yeah.
I loved Last Crusade, and I thought that the middle one was the weakest one, but I know everybody loves the middle one.
Well, I know not everybody. I liked all three, but I thought the last one was
I
the
thought all
weakest
the
one.
stuff with the Last Crusade with his dad was really funny,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But the thing is, those were steps and steps above the more current thing, but the money grabs. And so it makes me sad that they do this, and they do it time and time again. And I will no longer, I mean, even if I pirated these movies, I wouldn't watch them. I'm not going to
Okay,
fund
Ricky
the people that did
has
that.
said, he says I saw he's telling me that I saw the fourth film in the Fate of Atlantis review. So maybe I didn't see the fourth film. Is that the one? No, okay. You're right,
Man,
Ricky.
Ricky, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, you're right. I take it back. I did see it because I remember that's the one where he hides in the
Yeah.
refrigerator when the nuclear bomb goes off. So yeah,
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
see that, but apart from that one scene, I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, I remember Indy got recaptured or whatever. It's funny. McCulvey and Chad Mafunky just mentions that like having whips and stuff at school would get you in trouble today. But yeah, he's right. Back in the day, like the Chud's my perfect example. But my neighbor had them too. He had the Indiana Jones hat. He had the whip. He used to whip me with that thing. That thing, you remember the
Doesn't
whip?
the
That
Chud
hurt.
have an Indiana Jones outfit too?
Yeah, he used to, and I remember he'd wear it to the mall and stuff, complete with the whip hanging off of his belt. You know, it was a
Man,
different
I'd
era.
love to see the Chud, like a picture of the Chud, circa like 1991. I'd love to see
Well,
what
I don't know what I didn't meet him until '93, so I don't know.
Oh, I thought you knew the Chud in the 80s.
You know, I'm glad. You know, just to finish this off, Super Table asked me what I thought of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. I love that show. But I didn't like the youngest version, but I love the like Indy when he was fighting in World War One and stuff. I'm a big fan of those. They were great for kids to learn about history. Just quite a great show. So expensive, of course, it got canceled. Boat.
Have
But
you
it
ever
was,
showed it to Luke yet?
No, I haven't. I should. The funny thing is, believe it or not, Young Indiana Jones Chronicles was the lead-in to ABC Monday Night Football. You can believe that. What a world that was back in the day.
I get
yeah,
Briscoe County Jr. and the Young Indiana Jones confused.
they're totally different in every conceivable way, both. Although I did watch all those too. Keep it going.
Garibaldi asks, how many
man.
hours a week do you spend approximately playing games? And how many for producing streams, managing Discord, etc.?
You want to field that one first? I got to think about that for a minute because I play more than you.
Well, playing games, like if he means like playing the game for the Amiga for Amigos, I usually spend between 2 and 3 hours a week playing the games for Amigos. Producing streams, I don't do anything. Aaron does all that. Managing Discord, I don't know about managing, but like reading every comment on every channel, probably about 60 to 70 hours a week I spend on Discord. I'm on Discord all day, every day.
It's really, you remember when you said I'm backing off? Remember that?
Yeah.
That's over because your boat's like a blanket. I go to places where the Discord doesn't work anymore. I don't have any Wi-Fi or any internet at all. And so I miss out. I can't keep up. I just can't. It goes so quick, which is great. It's a testament to the success of the Discord, but I can't keep up. I try. In terms of how many hours a week do I play games, every week we play whatever we're playing on here. Now, granted, in the summer it changes a little bit, but generally, in like let's just say the fall, me and Boat will play a game, and then me and Britt will play a game. That's 2 games. Now, depending on what those games are, if I'm familiar with them or whatnot, I'll play one, maybe a couple hours, like Boat said. Sometimes at the like for example, this week I had to play a lot more because I was boy, those were painful hours.
It really, and like with the ARG, you don't know what game you're going to play, so you're spending
Yeah.
time looking around for the games that you're going to play.
That's true.
too.
That's true. So I didn't even count that, but yeah, it's a substantial amount of time. But it's and then there's also games I play on top of that. Like Luke's got a new game he likes to play on Steam that we've been trying out.
What
And
is
then
it?
oh boy, don't ask me, but I can't remember the name of it. But I like to play games that aren't on the show. So there's also games that I like games. What am I gonna say? So
Yeah,
I don't
mean,
know how many.
I go through phases playing games outside of the show. Like I was
Yeah.
addicted to Balatro for
I gotta
like
play that. I've heard it's
like
great. I've never
don't play
played
it because you won't be able to put it down. It'll take over your life.
Nah,
It's
not
super.
me.
It's super. It's like it might be the best game that's ever been devised.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
tell
it's
me
just
not to play it? It's the best game
yeah,
ever?
because it'll suck away so much of your life. You don't need that. You
Eh.
don't. Okay. BFB Triple I asks, you can go back in time to save Commodore. What are the most important features of your computer? What year is it released? And most importantly, what is it called?
See, this question's all jacked up. I can go back in time and save Commodore. The very first thing I do is get rid of the people that run Commodore. That's the first thing I do. I kick them out the door. It doesn't matter. The machine's irrelevant. They've got to go. That's the very first thing I do. The second thing I do is like I don't know what time period I come back, but let's say it's the 1200's been shipped, right? So people are waiting. They're like, "What's next, Amigo Aaron? Now that you run Commodore, I'll tell you what's next. We're getting the most awesome, studliest 68 XX whatever's available, 40s or 60s. We're not screwing around with this low end crap. The 600, that's gone. The 500 plus, all this crap gone. You go right into the big dog. Like you put the 4000 together and you get that thing going, and then when they're like, "Hey, what kind of chipset you want? You want the AGA chipset?" You beat that guy with a stick, and you get them to make the double A chipset because at this point
I
you've
think
got to
AAA is the one that they.
well, whatever. You've got to compete with the VGA. You gotta. You've got to. If you're going to play the game, you've got to be able to compete with the PC on an equal footing. If you can't do that, you're boned. And ultimately, I think you're boned. I think that's the problem because the PC was adopted at work, and the Amiga wasn't, and you're not going to make that change. And so at that point, you're sort of like the Macintosh. That's who you're really competing against. Who am I going to get? Who artsy fartsy tights am I going to get to play this machine to keep it alive? That's where you're at. And do you want to be competing for second place? Probably not. So I don't really see a way where the Amiga could have came out on top. I never have. But if I was going to be the one doing it, I would just put the most powerful thing together and try to get it try to get it out there. But I don't see how it would happen. What about you?
Well, just like you said, it depends on what time you're going back to. So if you were going to go back to 1985, I mean, first of all, you got to think, what is the Amiga? What is the Amiga when you come right down to it? Is the Amiga a hardware product? Is the Amiga a software product? Or do you have to have both to make it really be Amiga? Because from the time that the PC was introduced, or shortly thereafter, by the time the XT came out, I think the writing was on the wall. Because you're never going to be able to update your hardware and software solution to be a market leader unless you're using 100% off the shelf parts all the time. Because you've got to be able to, the tech industry moves so fast, you've got to be able to have a platform where you can swap out parts as fast as they come out. And there's only one platform that did that, and that's the Wintel platform. You can, whenever a new sound card comes out, bam, you slot it right in there. Whenever a new CPU comes out, bam, you slot it right in there. no other computer manufacturer slash company slash system, whatever platform, had the modularity that the PC platform did. And that's the reason why the PC won at the end of the day. So in my opinion, the Amiga should have been from the beginning primarily software company. You have Amiga OS, you've got the Kickstart, you've got the Intuition, you've got whatever, and the operating system. That's the Amiga. You build that on a modular platform that can be easily upgraded, and that's how you take on Big Blue.
It's an interesting concept. The funny thing is, depending on when you went back, what made the Amiga special was the custom chipset. Okay, we could agree on that. And an Amiga, the multitasking OS. These are two things that would not come. I mean, the Amiga had these things in '85. The PC would not get these in force for another 4 or 5 years. So what would the PC do if they had that lead? They would expand. They would mature. They would age out some things.
Well, and again, it's because the PC was not a single entity.
Right.
PC incorporates an infinite number of manufacturers, all making things all in competition with each other.
Right, but they had a standard. They were on the AT standard. That's and so it's funny to look back on this now because we've got hindsight and we know what happened. But at the time, no one knew what was going to be the standard. The problem is when the Amiga the standard in '85? No. Was it the standard in '87? No, it was never the standard. The AT was always the standard. So to win the war, you would have to come out with a PC in '85 that was the new standard. It did everything better. It was cheaper, and people wanted it in their office.
Which is why Amigga, as marketed as a software solution, makes sense. Because DOS was the dominant platform, but DOS was willing to be you could take down the DOS market a lot more easily than you could take down the PC from a hardware perspective.
Listen, I love what you're saying. It's very evocative. It makes you think. But if you tried to play the hardware game, because you're right, that's probably the way to go. But in '85, you're there early enough to where maybe, just maybe, you can play the hardware game and win. Maybe. Because the PC wasn't fully dominant by '85. There was still a chance you could get a foot in the door. But you got to come out with your A game, and you've got to come out strong, and you've got to come out and play the strengths. You've got to have Lotus. You've got to have WordPerfect. I know this sounds lame, but these are the things that made the PC go. This is why did people adopt DOS and the AT standards? Because they had the fundamental things that made business work.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those things,
people are talking about Apple. Yeah, and then Apple is an exception, but what Apple had was they had software that ran better on their system in specific niches that allowed them to continue until the iPod came along and the iPhone came along. Like Quark Express sold more Macs than anything else because it was the only place you could get it. That's the only reason why people bought them. Also, Apple had the advantage of being in the education market, deeply embedded in the education market.
Yeah, they made moves.
Never even had 1/100th of.
Yes,
it's a totally different thing. You can't look at Apple and say, well, they survived because they did this and this and this, and if Amiga just went, no, it's two totally separate things.
They played the game. You're dead on. And the thing is, here's the way I look at Amiga. Could Amiga survive? Amiga could have survived if it took over the Apple spot. Amiga and Apple could not both survive. I guarantee you that. You could have one of the two. But the problem is, Amiga was so scattered and haphazardly ran. And say what you will, I'm not the biggest Apple guy. I'm not the big Jobs guy or whatever. But, listen, these guys used keen insight. They knew what they were doing. They dug those holes into the schools. They got them in there. That was a big deal. And then they focused they didn't focus on things that would not make them popular. They knew what they had. They focused
Yeah,
on their own
and the thing
strengths.
is, Amiga tried to be everything to everybody.
Yeah, you can't do it.
And you can't do that. Max focused on desktop publishing, and for forever they were the standard. And even to this day, if you have people that are not that smart about computers and they want to get into desktop publishing, they'll be like, "Oh, I need to get a Mac," because they're good at that. They've established themselves in the zeitgeist as that company.
They were a king dong of the WYSIWYG. They knew. I mean, listen, I had friends that were in newspaper business. You think they had any Amigas or DOS machines? They had all Macs. Macs was the #1 source for desktop publishing. That's it. Now, Amiga. Someone mentioned the toaster. Too late. That
Yeah,
was.
it's way too late. I mean,
that's
like
niche,
if
you're in the niche zone there, big time when you're
right,
going into that.
what I would have done is I would have if when the toaster came out and the toaster took off like it did, I would have dropped the Amiga branding off that machine as fast as you could, and I would have just marketed this box called the video toaster and just sold it as an all-in-one.
They did do that, but
So
the thing is, who's gonna like? That's a niche to sell to TV stations. Like you're
Right.
not gonna make any money in the home market because of that. So when we get these questions here once in a while about what could save Amiga, Amiga was the king dog. But they from Jump Street they got it wrong, and in America, and that listen, I'm not to be a jerk, but if you're gonna make it here, you can make it anywhere, and they didn't get the job done, and that's why we're looking at it in hindsight, my opinion.
Cameron Armstrong asks, the Amiga scene today is just as strong as it has ever been with no signs of slowing down. Do you think it will die off in a few decades, or will the Amiga live on, led by Generation Alpha? I'll take this one first.
Go, man.
As soon as the last people die that used Amigas back in the day at the first time, the Amiga will die. There is no Generation Alpha waiting in the wings to take over the reins of Amiga fandom.
Here's the thing.
But people are
Amiga,
living longer and longer. And people like, okay, I would say you're probably no, I'm probably the youngest generation that would have had firsthand experience with the Amiga.
and even
People
you
that are in
didn't
their
have it.
40s. No, but I'm talking about like there's people like Pix,
It's
and
possible,
Lob
but
on
yeah,
the
in America, not so many.
No, in America, God no. But I'm talking about worldwide.
Don't tell
And
Doug.
so like I've got, God willing, another 40 years to live. That's a long time for the Amiga to still be
Me too.
around. But there's nobody's looking at, there are no new kids that are discovering the Amiga the first time that are getting ready to carry the torch. Hell no.
Here's the thing. We've got a new kid that comes to Boat Fest every year, and he loves the Amiga. He brought his dad last year. God bless him. There's one guy. But yeah, there's not enough to keep the ball rolling. There will be a scattered few, and my son and probably some of the owners' sons, maybe they'll get into it. But I can tell you right now, it's unlikely. What happens in 20 years? All right. There were a lot of people that were in the ham radio back in the day, and the numbers have diminished greatly. And that's what I use as sort of like that's where I think of the Amiga. There will always be a core audience for this thing, not always, but for a while. But inevitably, anyone that had any connection, if you had no connection to the Amiga, I mean, look at all the kit computers from the 80s and 70s, okay? That's a good, like the NASCOM. How many people are holding up a flag for the NASCOM right now?
Right.
And
they were PDP.
These people were passionate, and they built their own hardware and their own cases, and they were super intelligent. It's the same thing with the Coco community. How many people are holding up the flag for the TRS-80 100? There's some, but they're dying off, and so I mean, it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've already witnessed the extinction by death of the people who were into the first microcomputers.
Yeah,
they're all dead. They're all dead, and nobody's carrying the flag. We've got another generation to go, and then we'll have the Holy Trinity will die off. The TRS-80, the Atari 800, and the Apple II. Those will be gone. So eventually it'll be the Amiga, and it's okay. Who cares?
Yeah.
If in 100 years nobody remembers the Amiga, I just hope that we're still around. Humanity still continues to function.
I hope I'm still around
in some way. Yeah.
How many people, like, I see a lot of people that have, for example, a Channel F in their collection or a Bally's, okay? But are they experts in them? Do they know all there is to know, or they just pick them up at a yard sale or something? No offense to them, but I'm just saying they've got them as a novelty, or a Pong machine. It's a novelty. The passionate people that surrounded them have dwindled to practically none, and this is going to be the way to. And if you look at what the kids have now, they've got everything. You've got VR. You've got the new consoles. They've got everything they want. Why would they bother with this stuff? Because they don't have the passion that we do. And I think if you have the illusion that they're going to, you're fooling yourself. I'm not happy to say that, but that's the way I look at it. I think
I
Bo,
am
you're
happy
about
to say it because time moves on.
Well, still, it'd be nice if in 20 years people are still.
I mean,
making
everybody
Amiga
our
games.
age and older thinks, man, the stuff that I had was the best, and people need to remember it forever. But the stuff that we had wasn't the best. It's the same crap that everybody's always had since the beginning of time.
Well, you're not really
BFBIII says
your bedside manner needs work.
We'll call the game Make Love, Marry, Kill. Okay, so this is the old game. Okay, your choices are the PC Engine, the Amiga, and the Mega Drive. Which one are you going to one night stand, marry, kill?
Say the beginning of that again. I didn't quite catch that because I was yakking.
Okay, are you aware? Do you know what this game is?
What's the name of the game?
There is no name of the game. The name of the game is have sex with, marry, or kill. Okay, those are your three choices. I'm going to give you three options. You have to assign each category. Okay.
Okay, I got it now. Yeah.
Okay, I needed to spell it out. So
Yes,
PC Engine, Amiga, Mega Drive.
God. Well, you got to have sex with the PC Engine. It's too sexy not to do it. You marry the Amiga, you kill the Mega Drive. That's the way I look at it. The Mega Drive, in a lot of ways, it's sort of like, I mean, not all the ways, but the Amiga and the Mega Drive sort of competed for the same plane of games, and I think the Amiga has more options, so I would kill the Mega Drive. But I would absolutely hook up with the PC Engine, because look how sexy it is. It's got blazing lasers, for example. Whoo! But there's not enough depth there to marry it, but you definitely hook up with it. That's my opinion.
All right. I'm going to have a one-night stand with the Mega Drive, kill the PC Engine, and the Amiga, what can I say? It's the old battle axe. I've hitched my wagon to this train, and I'm riding it till I die.
I'm surprised. Actually, that's better than I thought you'd do. You kill off. You think you'd rather have sex with the Genesis than the PC Engine?
100 times out of 100.
Why is that?
Everything about the Mega Drive is better than anything about the PC Engine.
I love the PC Engine, man. It's super sexy. But that's the thing. It's got no depth. That's what makes it sexy. But I can understand your point of view. Hey, at least you didn't kill the Amiga, so I'm happy.
This is a question just for you, Aaron.
Oh.
From Ricky DeRocher, he asks, what are some of your favorite episodes of old time radio?
Oh man. Listen, I'll listen to every week. Me and Luke listen to several episodes. In fact, in just another hour or so, I'll be listening to CBS Radio Mystery Theater. We listen to The Whistler. We listen to Suspense. We listen to a lot of great radio shows. Some modern, some not so 0 hour. If I had to pick my actual individual favorites, there was an episode of CBS Radio Mystery Theater where this guy joins this club, and but the club takes hits out on itself. It's hard to explain. It's a great episode. I would pick that one. There's an episode of Suspense where these aliens are telling all the children on Earth to kill their parents. This was hardcore for the 50s, and it was a great episode. I love that one. There's also an episode where the Suspense does a radio version of H.P. Lovecraft show. It's really good. I wish I could remember the exact book they do. It was so good. But that's another one I would pick. It's hard to choose just one or two. Anything Orson Welles is involved with is good. But I mean, if I was going to pick individual shows, Suspense, The Whistler, CBS Radio Mystery Theater, 0 Hour, those are all great.
Up next, a question comes from Mork. He says, if you could have one thing that isn't normally available where you live suddenly be readily available, what would it be? Like a snack, a drink, hobby, object, type of nature, anything really. For myself, the yellow mangoes in Southeast Asia or Japanese toilets.
These toilets. You've been to Japan. What's the scoop on the toilets?
Oh my gosh. So Japanese toilets are fantastic.
Oh yeah,
So when you sit down in a Japanese toilet, right, you do your business, there's
yeah,
no paper going on in the Japanese toilet.
yeah.
Okay. What you
Bidet
have is
time.
a delectable selection of options at your fingertips that will clean your buttocks to your heart's content. You've got hot water, you've got cold water, you've got steam, you got whatever you want. It will play
Steam.
music for you while you do it. Whatever you want, the Japanese toilet will provide.
Are you a hot, cold, or steam guy, Bode?
I like hot water on my
Who
my
wants
rear.
cold? Who thinks to themselves, "I'm sitting on the toilet. Nothing would finish this off better than a bunch of cold water up the
Yeah.
wazoo and followed by steam." That's so
Well, you know about
horrible.
steam clean, it's just
No, that's what they do on rugs, and they shrink. This sounds horrible. My buddy's a big bidet guy. He
yeah. Well,
swears by these
it's
bidets.
essentially every Japanese toilet's a fancy bidet.
Do you have a bidet at the house there?
No, no, I don't,
Do you
unfortunately.
wish you had one?
If I could snap my fingers and make one appear, absolutely. I mean, why
Okay.
would you okay, when you wipe your bottom, it's like cleaning
Is this
shag
where we're
carpet with
going?
a tissue.
Well, is it?
It's not
That's
an
what it's
effective
like?
way to clean yourself.
I've never experienced the potency of a bidet in my life.
Well, next time you go to Japan, check it out.
Will do. What was the question again?
If there
We can have
if you could
anything in
have
our area.
yeah, if you could have anything that's not normally available where we are, what would it be?
All right, I got an answer for this.
Okay.
I would like a computer store. Like Micro Center or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, I think
That
that's a
would be
great
great.
answer.
The nearest Micro Center to us is in Columbus, which is several hours away. There aren't with Radio Shack gone. There's nothing resembling a computer store around, and that would be a nice thing to have where I could go if I needed, like for example, I need a card reader. I could just walk out and get one. Matt's down with that. What do you think, Bode?
I would like to have a beach closer, you know?
I didn't realize that was an option. That would be cool
Listen,
too.
it
Yeah,
could be anything,
you're right.
okay? So I would like to have a beach that, if I could drive to the beach at the same time that it takes me to, say, drive to Charleston, that would be good.
Yeah, I love that. I think that'd be great. And at the rate things are going, we will have a beach here pretty soon.
That's
It's not
right.
gonna be
Hey,
too
I saw
long.
Deep Impact. I know how it ends.
Is that
All
don't
right.
we all get killed in that movie?
No, the waters recede at West Virginia. We
Oh,
get spared.
bam! Yes, Mountain Mama.
That's right. Pajako asks, have you ever typed in a game listing from a magazine or a book? And if so, do you remember what the game was?
You mean like a basic program, that sort of
Yeah.
thing? Absolutely. God, yeah. Back in the day, when I had the Coco, I typed in many a game. I don't remember the name of the game. The one that I think of is a game where it's sort of like a reverse missile command. They're shooting at you, and you're trying to protect your bases. It was pretty cool. I remember making several mistakes, and also back when I typed it in, I had no way to save it. In fact, that happened often. So once I hit reset, no more game. So I would leave the computer on for a long time until eventually it overheated, and then it would just I'd have to turn it off. So, but yeah, I typed in many games.
I did not type in many games. I probably attempted to type in a couple, and then I just gave up because I never had to. Why would you type in a game if your computer comes with games when you got the computer from the guy you got the computer from?
Did you pirate a bunch of games for the old
All
1200
100,
XL?
I would say 90% of my games were pirated. I
Was it
still
hard to
remember the
come
guy's
by the
name.
pirating?
My dad had a guy friend at work. His name was Skid Kennedy.
Skid.
Yeah,
You know,
Skid
Skid's
Kennedy.
there. You know,
That's right.
That's-
And so Skid, he supplied me with not only an endless supply of games for the Atari, but also photocopied issues of Antic magazine, which I used to read. And so, yeah, that's and once a year, Dad would bring home the Atari catalog, and at Christmas, I'd get a new game. But
A
all
bought
of my
one?
games were pirated.
yeah.
All of my games.
Yeah, Skid was taking care of me. We had a
That's right.
Skid at Appalachian Power that took care of me on the Coco. There's always a
Really?
guy. You know, it's funny because eventually we became the guy. At least I did.
You
I was
became the
providing.
skid.
I was the skid. I'd provide all kinds of people with games. You know, sort of like Flack. He was King Skid. You
Yeah.
know, how do
Yeah.
you get that name? I don't even want to know. See
Who
the
knows?
bidet portion of the show. That's how you get the skid moniker.
Retro Dream State asks, what is the oldest computer you remember playing a game on when it was a current system? So this is when it was a current system. I played Star Trek on a teletype on an IBM mainframe in the late 70s.
He wins. I can't say that. The earliest machine I remember playing a game on was the Atari 400. It probably predated the TRS-80 Model 2 that I played games on at school. But we had a guy that played them. I mean, if you're on computer games. I mean, I played games well before that, but they weren't on the computer. So I would say the Atari 400. What about you, Bo?
The oldest computer was my Atari. When Dad brought home the Atari, that was the first time I'd ever seen a computer. Before then, I did play the oldest video game console I ever played was a 2600, but still, I mean, it was in 1985, so it
You
was
didn't play any
well past
Pong
its prime.
machines?
No,
You
never,
know,
never had a Pong machine.
if I can go off on a quick tangent, you know how fortunate we were to have access to the Atari computer line. What a great, like, no one's holding up the trumpet for the Atari computer
Yeah.
line.
Yeah,
And this stuff was out in the 70s, and
right.
it kept going strong.
Yeah,
There's so many good programs to the Atari, you know, and where's the love? It's not there. No one gives a
yeah.
crap. People love the ZX. Where's the
Mhm.
Atari? That's America's version, the Coco. No one, I don't hardly see any love for the Atari 8-bits anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the early
Well, and
days, those things were off the charts.
yeah, and it's just I think it's just the love that was there is now 6 feet under. You
Oh,
know, it's
I
just the
mean,
way
you're
it
really
is.
depressing me with that crap. God, but you're not wrong.
Retro asks, what was your favorite year of school and why?
I can tell you 89 because I was out of there. That senior year, I didn't have to care that much. I hated school. I didn't have a good time. My senior year was the only year that I felt accepted, and I had a lot of friends, and I partied, and had a good time, and I had a
That's
job.
when you went to casino too.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, 89 that was a banner year for me. I was so happy to be out of high school and moving into the real world because I didn't like school that much, and I was kind of a geeky type, you know. But I gained a lot of friends that year and had a lot of fun and hung out with girls, you know, fun stuff that a high school boy likes, and so that would be my favorite year by far, outside of kindergarten.
My favorite year was my freshman year of high school. That was a year that I was sort of, my middle school experience was not the best.
Yeah.
And, joining the band in ninth grade, I had this group of 100 other people that,
Yeah.
Immediately had my back.
Did you
And
get
they made
over
me
in
feel
the
like I was
band
part of it.
when you?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
when
mean,
you were a
I
big
was,
deal?
I was over from Jump Street because I was
See,
a
I
pretty
was
good
a
trombone
geek.
player when I came in.
Like when
And
you're a geek in the band, that's the lowest echelon. That's where I was. No one respected my playing abilities or me as a person. They thought I was a garbage
Yeah.
boy.
I mean, I was hanging out with the cool seniors like your brother,
He was a
and
cool senior.
yeah,
Trust me, you're deluding
I looked up to
yourself.
him and Jamie, all those guys. When you're a freshman, seniors are like the cool people. And so yeah, my freshman year was an amazing year. And it was probably the best year of school for me.
You're a lucky man. I wish I could have said that, but I hated my freshman year. I was scared to death.
BF Triple I asks, if you were blessed or cursed with the responsibility of running someone else's YouTube channel for a month, which channel would you choose? Would you choose Shane R. Monroe's channel, Aaron?
Shane's doing okay. It's funny you should mention that because there's a couple channels I follow that I think are undervalued. God, who would I pick? I mean, the thing is, YouTube channels, I mean, not us, but most of them are very stylized toward the person who owns the channel. I mean, me and Boat and Brent, to a certain degree, we just sort of do the thing. I don't know if we have a style or whatever, but a lot of these people do, and so it's hard to sit here and say I'd run someone else's channel better than them because they know what they're after. Like, let's take Reese, for example. I remember when he first started, I was like, look at this guy. And we put him over on the show, and now he's huge. He's cruised past us because he knew what he wanted to do. He had a plan. He knew what his strengths were, and he did it. And now Reese is a big deal suddenly. Same thing with Neil. Bam, he was a big deal. It's hard to say how you would run a channel better than the people running it because they ultimately know what they're doing. We have no idea what we're doing. We never have. We just make shows and put it on the channel, and we do. We're doing okay. So I wouldn't presume to make someone else's channel better because we're still trying to figure out how we're getting stuff done. I guess it's the way I look at it. What about you, Bo?
I mean, I only watch YouTube channels that I like. And I like them because they're doing something good. There's nobody that I follow on YouTube that I would want to do differently than what they do, I think.
I thought of one.
Okay.
Right? Our buddies over at Pixel Gaten, okay? These guys have a really fun podcast. They do practically zero YouTube. Every once in a while, Sanction puts something up. These suckers need to get it together. They've got a lot of charisma, and they could do a lot of video stuff, but I think they're hesitant. So if I was going to run one, I would run that one, and I would get a cattle prod. I'd go out to Sacktown, you know what I mean, Boat? And I'd be up there whacking suckers and making them get some content going. I think those guys could do real well on YouTube if they gave it a shot.
I like that. I like that idea.
And also, Retro Asylum is a close second. That's the same thing. Those guys could do better than they are.
What I guess I would probably actually no, I take it all back. What I would do is I would take over Kim Justice's channel and I would force her to review all of my favorite games because she does great work, whatever she does. Some stuff I don't care about, and there's a lot of stuff I do care about she hasn't covered yet. So I would make that happen.
I would censor her streams because she's way too graphic in these things because she's too talented to work blue, in my opinion.
Pajako writes, what was video games coverage on TV like as kids for you folks? Were there any shows you watched like Bad Influence or Games Master?
Those shows are no good. I went back and watched them. I don't understand. I mean, I understand the appeal.
Well, they're the visual equivalent of magazines like Amiga Power.
Yeah.
They're written for 12-year-old boys.
I suppose you're right. When I was a kid, the first time I saw video games on TV was on Entertainment Tonight, which was a show that was, I don't know, is it still around?
It came on right after Jeopardy.
Yeah, that's right. Or Wheel of Fortune, whatever.
Yeah.
And Mary Hartman, I think, was on there. I mean, it's had a ton of hosts. The very first thing I ever saw on there was they covered Zaxxon. They're like, this is the new 3D game. It's going to blow minds. And I thought, wow, look at that. And then I saw a bit for Dragon Slayer. I was like, holy smokes, look at that. Then there was a show called Starcade with 2 R's that was a game show for kids where you play video games. It's well documented. I'm sure people have heard of it. It's really all we had in America, video game-wise, in terms of that sort of show, unless you could think of something, Boat, in that era.
I can, because I'm from a different era than you.
Right. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Bo. What do you?
And so Ricky and I are about the same age, and so he mentions Nick Arcade. This was the only video game show I ever saw growing up, and it was. Listen, Starcade was not a fantastic show.
No.
Okay. Nick Arcade did a great job continuing that tradition into the 90s of not being a fantastic show.
Did they show actual arcade machines?
They were actual arcade machines. Okay. But they were games that I'd never seen before and only years later would look up. And they were I almost felt like they were trying to not pay big licensing fees or something. I don't know how they chose these games.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just wanted games that nobody else had played to give everybody a fair shot. I don't know.
The one thing about Starcade was that you actually every week you would see games that were coming to your arcade. It was current.
Which is cool. That was a good angle.
And that's what made that show fun. Like, what is this? What's coming to my arcade? Right. Look at that. Now, that's what made it good.
The big thing about Nick Arcade was not the arcade machines. That was a prelude to what was to follow. Because the cool thing about Nick Arcade was the final zone, which was a lot like Nightmare in the UK, or one of those green screen shows where you had somebody and they were behind a green screen and they would punch, and they would jump. and they, and they were on the
I've
video
seen that.
game,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that
They
that was
played. Yeah,
right. That was the coolest thing about that
that's
game.
every kid's dream, right? To be
Right,
in the
right.
game,
Be
right?
in the game, and so that was what I had.
You
All
know,
right.
if we could
Yes,
make
sir.
our own. Hold on a second before you go on. I'm gonna sidelines again. Wouldn't it be fun with the technology today to like do that like a game show now? Like there's especially with stuff like the Wii and the 360, like the Kinect stuff. You could have a really cool game now that would be leagues and leagues better than what they had back then. But no one's ever done it since then. Really, it's pretty much no one does that sort of content anymore. It's sort of a bummer, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's eh, with YouTube. Obviously, all these shows are geared towards kids,
Yeah.
and by kids, by the time kids are old enough to watch video game content, they're not going to the TV. There's
We should do a show like that with modern technology. We should get a bunch of kids. You're a teacher. Get some of those kids you teach, and we'll actually put them on the show. We could do it. It'd be fun. We could come up with a cool name.
okay. I'll think about that.
All right. You're not going to do it, are you?
And the final question is for me. He says, favorite new band you've been listening to? I want to recommend the Jacob Man Big Band. They're fantastic. They're a contemporary big band jazz. Check them out. That's for you, Doc Crabs. And I still listen to all that same crap we always listened to in high school. All right, Aaron, that's the end of Ask the Amigos.
Very
We
good.
have done it. We have completed the triumvirate this evening. We've recorded 2 episodes of Amigos plus Ask the Amigos. We
Yeah.
appreciate all the questions. Feel
Triple.
free, if you are a member of our Discord community, to go to the Ask the Amigos channel, and you can pose up to 3 questions a month for us. We'll be happy to answer them next month. And if you want to become a part of our community, patreon.com/Amigos podcast. We will see you next time. And until then, adios.
Adios.